There's some news breaking this hour we want to tell you about. Department of Education employees have been told today to vacate the building for security reasons starting at 6 p.m. this evening. That's according to a memo sent to all employees. The memo did not state what the security reason was that required employees to vacate at 6 p.m. today. The employees were told to take their laptops home with them. According to the memo, the building will reopen on Thursday. It comes as the Department of Education is already reckoning with large-scale cuts from Elon Musk. Donald Trump has also threatened to shutter the agency entirely. Let's bring in my friend and colleague, NBC News White House correspondent Vaughn Hilliard. Vaughn, what do you know?
There's a lot to track agency to agency, department to department right now, Nicole. It's frankly kind of difficult here, but I know at this point in time that there have been workforce reductions planned across departments and agencies beyond just the probationary employees, folks that are working in the federal government for a year or two. We're talking about potentially 20, 30, 40% reductions that were planned across the board. And we saw from Health and Human Services Department this weekend, email go out to all HHS employees, the 80,000 employees, essentially offering them another buyout opportunity, a $25,000 stipend to leave their jobs. We talked to many federal workers who regretted not taking the first round of buyout offers because those probationary employees, for example, were fired just days later with no severance. So essentially these off-ramps have been presented again, but have been told that federal government workers should expect major workforce reduction. And of course, it's not standard operating procedure for department employees to be told to not come into the office here. We do not know at this time if there is a plan for a mass firing at the Department of Education, yet at the same time, they have given plenty of indications from the President of the United States to the Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon herself, that workers should be prepared for the dismantling of the department. So I think this is notable heading into the night.
So what is the security concern about? Is it misdirection? Or, I mean, I worked in the White House after September 11th, and a security concern was usually imminent, not something noticed 24 hours prior.
Right, and it was about a week ago, actually, there were also questions about the Department of Housing and Urban Development. There were metal detectors that were having all employees go through, and there were lines about 3 blocks long for employees just to get into the workplace. Last week, the exact security concerns were never articulated or stated by the department. And from the Department of Education at this point in time, Nicole, we don't have answers either. And so it is quite something that these sort of decisions are being made. But we have a very few specifics on exactly why the decisions are being executed the way that they are.
Let me also ask you something from my vantage point as a former White House employee about shredding and destroying documents. This was not only unethical, but I think illegal. But NBC News is reporting this. USAID staff is being told to shred and burn all their classified documents. Quote, the U.S. Agency for International Development is instructing its staff in Washington to shred and burn documents, according to an email obtained by NBC News. The document destruction was set to take place Tuesday, according to an email from Erica Carr, the agency's acting executive secretary. Quote, shred as many documents first and reserve the burn bags for when the shredder becomes unavailable or needs a break, Carr wrote. I worked in government for almost a decade. I've never heard of so much shredding being required that you would know ahead of time that, quote, the shredder would become unavailable or need a break. What is that about?
Right. I actually this morning got a message from somebody who left USAID earlier this year and passed along this email to me. And my response is naturally, is this standard operating procedure? And this individual said no, that they had never heard about burning or shredding of federal records at USAID. But then again, this individual told me they've never heard of the entire agency being gutted and their headquarters at the Ronald Reagan building being shut down. When are documents, burned by the State Department or USAID? Typically at an embassy when it is about to be overtaken, Marines have the authorization as a means of ensuring that classified records and personnel data do not get in the hands of individuals who are seen as threats. They do go and burn documents, but that's not what this situation is here. And I was talking to a national security records lawyer. here who has already sent to the National Archives a demand to have the records stop from being destroyed. We should note that this was all taking place today here. In the way that this lawyer put it to me was that this is, number one, a violation of the Federal Records Act, but number two, that there is a standard operating procedure when it comes to processing records. And unless all of these records were digitized or there was a clarity that, for example, records older than 10 years old that have been appropriately deemed by necessary officials as no longer having to be archived, may be terminated, those can then be ultimately destroyed. But this email is very explicit to these individuals who received it. Quote, shred as many documents first and reserve the burn bags for when the shredder becomes unavailable or needs a break. They were directed to go and clear out these classified safes and personnel documents from what used to be USAID headquarters. And Marco Rubio, the State Department that is now overseeing USAID, they just earlier this week said that 83% of the contracts that USAID oversaw have been eliminated. And the way the USAID official suggested to me is that if they're truly trying to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse, many of these documents would have records as to exactly where payments have gone and how contracts have ultimately been executed across the world. And so if you are shredding and burning these documents, you are effectively removing a paper trail that could be paramount to actually understanding how USAID has executed and used its capacities overseas. And so much of that could be understood by these archived documents that were clearly been ordered today to be burned and destroyed.